Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully everyone can still hear me. I will be very brief because I'm having a pretty bad internet connection right now. It's my pleasure to introduce our third virtual merchant meeting this afternoon. As you know, it's been our goal to get timely information and credible information to the small business community, specifically the merchant community, to make sure that you're armed with all the information that's out there so you can access the tools that are available to you. I hope you know that behind the scenes, a lot of our partners, many who join us today, like Score and Assets, have been working behind the scenes on behalf of the small business community. So it's my privilege to introduce one of our partners here, Jonathan Coleman, who is the co-CEO of Assets, to introduce the emergency fund that they put together in partnership with the city, the Community First Fund, and some other partners on behalf of our small small business community, to give them access to some of the funding that that you may not have had the opportunity to apply for or receive as part of the PPP program or others. So with that, I will turn it over to Jonathan Coleman. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Unmute.
Are you there, Jonathan?
Okay, my internet is a bit funky right now as well, so hopefully you can all hear me. Okay, yeah, so I'm happy to be here to talk with you all today. If I do break up, someone just give me a holler, or Marshall send me a text. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about the Lancaster City Small Business Emergency Fund. I'll go over the details as clearly as I can now, and then, as they said, we can do a Q&A afterwards. So basically, kind of to go back to the beginning of why we're doing this, Community First Fund and Assets, exist to serve the small business community here in this area. We're both based in downtown Lancaster. While we work outside, Assets works throughout the county and a bit beyond. Lancaster, or Community First Fund, works well beyond the county. They work throughout the entire region, but we're both headquartered here in the city. And as the economy started to shut down, we recognized that there were obviously significant needs within the business community everywhere, overwhelming needs. And especially as the first round of PPP started coming through, we acknowledged and began to realize that it was possible that some folks were going to fall through the cracks of some of this federal funding and state funding that came through. And so recognizing that, and recognizing that we'd like to see a local response to help those that were maybe falling through the cracks, Community First Fund Assets worked alongside the city and a few other partner groups to create this fund. So we're really excited to finally be rolling it out. So just so we kind of are clear, the other fund partners who have come alongside and helped to make this happen are the Encourage Lancaster group. This is the group of small businesses that are running the crowdfunding campaign. So any of the crowdfunding dollars that are raised are flowing directly into this fund. And there's also Fulton Bank, High Foundation, Faree Foundation, and Rogers and Associates. So those four other organizations are putting up the money, the grant money, basically, as part of this fund. So I'll get into it later, but there's a grant portion and a loan portion. The grant money is put up by those funders. The loan portion of this is put up by Community First Fund and Assets ourselves, and also the City of Lancaster has allocated some funding towards the loan fund. So we're excited. We're happy to have those partners along with us. We're happy to have generous foundations and large businesses and individuals within the community who have come alongside to support this effort and to help get as large a bucket of funding as we can pull together to then redistribute to you all and others like you who are based in the city. So this is a fund that is specifically for Lancaster City, businesses that are located in the city. So it's not related on where you live, it's on where your business is located. So if the business is in the city, you qualify. the other kind of primary qualification is if your business has revenue of under $1 million, you qualify. So we wanted to focus this on the smallest businesses. And I'll get into more detail, but that's kind of big picture. Businesses at under $1 million in annual revenue and businesses that are located in Lancaster City. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen so that you can see the website, which is live. You can go look at this anywhere at any time. You can see the browser up at the top. It's Lancaster City Small Biz Emergency Fund.com. So this is where the details of the fund are at and where you can actually apply. But what I want to do is just take a few minutes to run through the qualifications and eligibility to make sure that there's no confusion or lack of clarity, that you understand exactly if you qualify and how you qualify and for which portions of this you might qualify. Before I do that, I do want to say one important thing. In total, we have $1.5 million in this fund, which is great. We're really pleased with that. But of that, there's around $250,000 that will go towards grants. And that leaves about $1.25 million that will go towards loans. To be clear, the need significantly outweighs what we have, the supply right now. We do not have enough money to make sure that every business in this community receives something, and certainly not enough grant money. We have $250,000 in grants. Unfortunately, the limited funds meant that we had to put some pretty tight parameters on this to try to focus this funding to those who were most in need. But I have no doubt that we will leave people out, and that is like a really unfortunate reality. And it was really painful for us as we kind of try to put parameters around this, to acknowledge that we're not going to be able to help everyone because there's simply not enough money. But we have been really careful and thought really long and hard about how to structure this so that it helps as many people as possible and many small businesses as possible, and has the longest lasting impact on the community. And we hope that everyone will be understanding of the reality that we just need more money if we're going to help everyone. We can't help everyone, but we're doing our best to help as many as possible. So here are the details of the fund. If you can see here under business qualifications, another important note: this is not a first come, first served fund. All the applications will be considered equitably based on this list of characteristics. We're not doing this first come, first serve because we've seen a lot of other funds, both the federal funds and some others that cities have done, in which the people who turn in the applications the fastest are not necessarily the ones who need the funds the most. And so we wanted to be clear to leave a long period of application, long enough for anyone who could qualify to apply. And then we've got a set of criteria we're judging those applications on in order to determine who will actually receive the funds. So that's an important thing that we have been very careful with, because we've seen, again, these scenarios in other cities. I'm just going to throw out an example. Philadelphia put out a fund for their small businesses really quickly within the first few weeks of this emergency. About half the businesses in the city of Philadelphia are run by diversely owned, are minority-owned businesses, and 6% of the initial funds from Philadelphia went to minority-owned businesses. So obviously that's not a metric that's equitable and that reflects the demographics of the business owners. And so we want to avoid things like that maybe those with the best accountants or the fastest fingers on the keyboard get all the funds. That's not what we want. So the things that we are looking at to determine these funds on both the grant and the loan side are these categories: longevity in business, the long-term sustainability of the business, meaning has it been profitable or not over time, the local economic and community impact of the business, the positive business practices, the location of the business within Lancaster City. We don't want all of the loans or grants to go to one neighborhood or another neighborhood or one district or another. We want to make sure that they're spread to businesses throughout the city. We want to consider the impact on the streetscape of Lancaster City. So, those businesses that are as a storefront, we do consider that in the applications. Not to say that if you're not a storefront, you won't be considered. That's not the case at all. But it is a factor that we're considering, because no one wants a city that's full of empty storefronts. We'll also consider number of employees and the likelihood of survival if the funds are received, and the severity of current need. So we've got this big matrix in which we're judging, kind of doing our best to grade these applications that come in order to hopefully identify those businesses that have the best chance of long-term success, that have the best impact on the city as a whole, that have the highest need. All of those things we're considering. If there's questions about that later, please let me know. But that's kind of the method that we're using to make these decisions. All right, as far as eligibility, on the grant side, businesses under $500,000 in annual revenue can apply for either the grant or the loan. If you have revenues of over $500,000, but less than $1 million, you can qualify for the loan. All right, so anyone can qualify for the loan portion of this, but only businesses under $500,000 in revenue can apply for the grant. Again, this is to focus we know grants are better than loans, of course. This is the focus of the grants on the smallest of the businesses and the most vulnerable businesses. And we'll get into a little more detail about how that's broken down later. All right, some of you may own multiple businesses. For this fund, you can only apply for one of your businesses. Again, that's just a rule because there's limited funds. So we want to make sure that to spread those funds around as much as possible. The business must operate within the city, it says that, and also if a business has received PPP or EIDL funding in the form of a grant, like the forgivable loan or a grant, they're not eligible for the grant side. They are eligible for the loan side. That was a tough one to put in there because we know that like if someone got an EIDL grant, it's not enough for their business, likely. But again, because of the limited funds, we had to put some tight parameters. So we wanted to make sure that those that have received nothing so far at least get something. And if there by chance is money left over on the grant side after everyone who has received nothing thus far, after all of those have received, then we will take a look at if there's anything left. And we'll also look into multiple phases of this fund, which may come about in months down the road, in which we'll folks will be able to reapply. But that's the requirement as of now. Okay, just a little more detail about both the grant and the loan side. So you can see this here on the grants. We've broken those down into two categories just to make it a little more clear. So for businesses with an annual revenue of under $250,000, they can apply for up to $2,500 grant. It's important to note that that is up to. We're not guaranteeing that everyone will get the full amount that they apply for, but they can apply for up to $2,500. So that's for under $250,000. For those businesses that are between $250,000 and $500,000 in revenue, they can apply for up to a $5,000 grant. All right. There's an application for that. We ask you some questions, get some basic information about your business, you and your business. But other than that, the only thing you need for the grant side is the most recent tax return, 2018 or 2019. That's all we need to see. Basically, we're verifying that revenue number. So that is on the grant side. On the loan side, these are for businesses really from revenues of 0 up to $1 million. The loans are much larger, up to $25,000 loans. But that final amount is determined by a review. The terms of the loan are incredibly generous. So while we all know that the grants are better than loans, at least we're trying to provide these loans in such a way that are as helpful for you as possible. So the terms can be up to 5 years. There's 0 interest on the first year of the loan and 0 payments for the first 6 months. So after 6 months, you need to start paying on the principal, but there's no interest until year 2. And from years 2 to 5, the interest will be 4%. So you won't find much better terms than that unless it's like a forgivable loan that you got through PPP or something. There are more documents that you need for the loan side, and you can see all these listed here, and they're on the website. I won't run through them. But as you might expect, these loans need to be paid back. And so they have to require a bit more detail in order to make decisions on the quantity of the loans. All right. So moving on down the website here, the applications, as you might know, opened this morning, but don't fret. just because they opened this morning doesn't mean you're already in the back of the line, because as I said, this isn't first come, first serve. As long as you get your application in by the time the applications close, which is May 10th at midnight, we will consider all applications equally. So it doesn't matter if it's today, tomorrow, or the last minute that it gets turned in. We're looking at them all after the application closes, then we'll make our judgments. We will do our best to make those decisions quickly, because we all know that you're waiting. You need to understand if the money is coming, how much money is coming, and then you want it as quickly as possible. So we'll move forward as quickly as we can. So the application closes on the 10th of May. We'll be making our decisions within a week to two, and by the end of May, by the 26th of May, as we see here, our goal is to be making disbursements by that date, if not before. So we anticipate a lot of applications, so we want to give ourselves enough time to evaluate them accurately and adequately and fairly, but also not drag our feet so long that the money becomes not useful because it's too late. So we're trying to have the right balance of like speed and wisdom as we make these decisions. These other components that I'm scrolling through here, we've talked about a little bit. Again, the City of Lancaster put up 250,000. Assets and Community First put the additional $1 million on the loan side. Really thankful for Encourage Lancaster and the crowdfunding they've done to get the community involved in raising money for this fund. And then those foundations and larger businesses have come along and supported as well. So this is an important little section down here that I just highlighted. There's a kind of a fact sheet that really has most of the information that's on the website that you'll see, but just in a PDF format that you can see, both those in English and Spanish. So frequently asked questions, English and Spanish as well. We had a webinar this morning in both English and Spanish that will be published online as well. So that if there's now you're essentially getting the same information, but if you have anyone else that needs information, they can go to that webinar. The grants side of this process is going to flow through assets. So that's why if you have questions about the grant application, you can access assets here at our info@assets.pa website or email address or our phone number. And for the loan side, those are going to be funneled through Community First Fund. They'll be processing those. So that's their information there below. And as you see right at the bottom here and throughout, the website is the links to apply for either the grant or the loan. So that is the basic overview. Like I said, we're excited to be able to offer this opportunity to Lancaster City businesses. We all know the hardship you're under. We also know that we wish we could do more. But this is what we have, and we're going to do our best with what we have, and try to be as open and honest and clear and wise as possible as we make the decisions on both the grants and the loans, so that we are making sure that the money is going for its best use and can impact the local economy here as much as possible. So we appreciate your patience as we work through the kinks of the program, and hopefully we'll answer all of your questions here in a minute. Yeah, we're just excited to hopefully get you some help so that you can get your business up and going again, or pivot however you need to pivot as things begin to open up here to bring back our thriving city in the way that we all want it to be. So I guess I can take questions now. And I'll stop sharing the screen here.
If anyone has any questions, if you raise your hand in the chat feature, if anyone has any questions about doing that, if you want to send me a chat message, I can help you. Or you can just go like this.
And well, I can just read through these and answer a few of the questions.
Thank you.
If you like. So, Amy, I see your question. Even if the business is not brick and mortar or does not occupy office space. So, yes, any business is eligible to apply. It's just that one of the things we are considering that's part of like our judging matrix is if it's a brick and mortar. So that will be part of the consideration, but it's not like the one and only thing. And if you're not a brick and mortar, it's not like you're disqualified. It's just that we do want to consider that, again, because no one wants a streetscape full of empty storefronts. So we want to do our best to try to help those, but not exclusively storefront businesses. Let's see. Oh, Gretchen, I see you're answering questions here as we went. Thank you for that. All right. I don't see any other questions. Anyone want to raise their hand or speak out?
You see Christina?
Yeah, go ahead, Christina. You're muted, so maybe you might want to unmute.
Okay, just have a quick question. Is this listed on social media anywhere? That way we can share this with our fellow friends that own small businesses in Lancaster, because I would like to share this information beyond email contact.
Yeah, if you go to the Assets Facebook page or Instagram, we're posting stuff there, so that's maybe the easiest place to go. And then you can share from there. Please do share. We want this to go as far and wide as possible.
Thank you.
Well, Jonathan, I guess that was a very thorough presentation. Yeah, thank you so much. And believe me, it hasn't gone unnoticed how much work it goes went into this. I mean, this effort and the way Assets and Community First Fund and other organizations and partners came together to make this happen just goes to show the collaboration that continues to happen in the city. So yeah, so thank you for that. It's just great to be part of this family of Lancaster City. Go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you. It's our job. That's why we're here, and so we're really happy to be able to step in and fill this void because that's we exist to serve the small businesses like yours and to build a local economy that's more equitable and more ethical and thriving. So you are all a big part of that. So we're happy to help.
Great. Well, thank you, Kathleen. Great, and we can send that link out and for businesses again that may want to participate that has the form.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll send the form out with the minutes.
Perfect. Great. We do have a few minutes if there's anyone that does have another question or comment. Otherwise, we can let people get back to their day. Enjoy what's left of the sun before this deluge of rain over the next couple of days. All right. Well, there's nothing, everyone. Jonathan, thank you again for your time and your efforts. Everyone, look for more virtual merchant meetings coming up soon. We want to hear from. We also want to hear from you of other topics that are important to you right now as we all plan for reopening the economy. So feel free to let us know at info@teamlank.org or any of the Lancaster City Alliance folks personally. Beyond that, look for more email, social media posts, and we thank you everyone for your time, and we'll see you next time. Great, thank you.
Thanks, Marshall. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.